Hello, and welcome to Tracy Momi Reads. Something a little different today from the usual graphic t-shirts. I'm trying to be fancy because of the to pay homage to the book that I'm going to be reviewing today, and that is Cicely Tyson, Just As I Am. When I first saw that Cicely Tyson was penning her autobiography or writing a memoir, and as soon as it became available for pre-sale or pre-order, I pre-ordered it. And this was like, I guess, I don't know if it was back in November of 2020 or how far back it was, but I got my book like exactly 3 or 4 days before she passed away. And I think it's just, first of all, let me just say, phenomenal that she was 96 when she passed and that she got to tell her own story. And I know she waited a while before she put it all down, but it was worth the wait. And it just makes this book even more special because it's in her own words, Yes, Miss Cicely. I really enjoyed this book. She was a trendsetter long before we probably really fully grasped what that meant. She was the epitome of black girl magic long before that phrase became a hashtag. She was doing the natural hair thing before anybody, in modern times, before it was even a thought. I know it was a big push to do that back like in the 70s and stuff like that, and then recently in the early 2000s, but she was doing just everything before it really became a thing, and her autobiography, wow, what a life. 96 years. First of all, I'm not mad that she lied about her age. I mean, Cicely was out here booking jobs 10 years older than like she actually was. Saying that she was 10 years younger than she actually was. And looking flawless, If Black Don't Crack was a person, there would be a picture of Cicely Tyson next to it. As I was reading this, because I have an aunt that's, in her 70s, and she always regales us with stories of the past and tells us, all the family history and tea. And I know a lot of times she's embellishing for, humor's sake or for anecdote or satire or whatever. And I just wonder, excuse me, I wonder how much. I mean, I don't doubt that, to her recollection, that the majority of the things that she states and mentions in this book are very true. But I just wonder the accuracy. I mean, because come on, 96, and she had some detail in here, y'all. All the way back to when she was, a toddler, a newborn, all the way through right before she passed away. So that's a long time to recall. And she mentions in here like, oh, I don't remember the person's name, but this person did such and such. But even to weave together the stories that she did with so much, her recollection, like I said, there's things that I can't remember that happened 2 days ago, let alone 20 or 30 years ago. Goodness grief. I highlighted so many things in this book with a pencil because, let me tell y'all, my book, I got to page 113, and like once I finished that page, there was a period at the end of the page, and then when I went to the top, there was another sentence, but it didn't like start off, with a capital letter or like it was the beginning of a sentence. It was like it had broken up. So then I go back to the bottom to see if I missed something, and then I look across, and instead of it being page 114 next to 113, it was page 145. Yeah, so about 30 of my pages were totally out of order. 112, no, it was 112. I have it here. 112, and then it skipped to 145. And then so 113 wasn't until after page 176. The only great thing about it is that there were no pages missing, just that group of 30 pages were out of order. So it didn't detract or distract me from the story. And I said I made, erase all my notes and just request a new one. But, I'm not so sure now. I've read the whole book, and I know I made a note to where the next page starts. And I know that there's been some issues getting copies of this. So I don't know if I want to return it. I may just keep it, consider myself lucky to have gotten one of the flawed ones. But yeah, some of these pictures and stories, I live for stuff like this, like historical type stuff. And when she was, recalling a story or talking about something, I found myself going to Google, oh, who is that person? Or did that really happen? Or, trying to get some more context for it. And like I said, for the most part, all of her recollections were spot on, The only thing, and it's her real life, so it's not like I could have a critique of her life, but as humans, we typically do that. Her relationship with Miles Davis, God, talk about toxic and codependent. But I guess, you can't help who you love, and that's that. That's what's at the heart of it, literally. You can't help who you love. But I am just so glad that her love for him and her wanting to be with him did not derail her career or keep her from pursuing and accomplishing things that she wanted to accomplish. Because he was a lot. And I could see how easily, because I believe maybe with his first wife that was the case. She was like a ballet dancer or something to that. Yeah, I think she was a ballet dancer. And his jealousy and at his insistence, she just kind of stopped with her career and, got married to him. And I think they had kids or whatever. But I'm glad that Cicely continued on her path and became the legend, the icon that she will always be remembered as. I also think that for her growing up during the time period, because she was born in the 20s or something, during the time period that she was born, and given her appearance, already there was this, and still is, this whole image of Black people, how we're perceived and how we're vilified and how we're treated, with racism and everything, discrimination. And then on top of that, to add that, admittedly, that darker skinned Black women sometimes had it much harder, living in that skin. And for her, she was just unapologetic. This is me, this is who I am, okay? And you're gonna get all of this, melanin goddess, okay? And it worked for her, and people loved her for it. And I remember one of her last interviews, I think she was talking to Gayle King, and she mentioned how at some point, I don't remember reading it in the book, but in that interview she mentioned that someone along the way during her career had said that she should get her teeth fixed. And she talks about in the book how she sucked her thumb for many years, so she was slightly, she had like a buck tooth, but she was buck tooth a little bit, an overbite. And her comment to that person was, why? I like the way I look. Talk about self-love and self-fulfilling prophecy and just doing you, being you, no matter what anybody else says. Poster girl for it right here. I think that her life in general is like a love letter to Black women everywhere, about embracing who you are and loving yourself despite what is going on around you, and kudos to her for also, during the time of the 70s when there were a lot of blaxploitation films being made, she just didn't want any part of that, and her career still thrived. She never got into that because she felt like it didn't do anything to move us forward as people or for the culture. So kudos to her for that. And she's pretty much, I mean, from in her own words, everything that she has done in her career and in her life has been intentional, because she knew the weight of what she was doing and how it would reflect on not only black people but black women. So I really appreciate that. You know, any sacrifices she may have made on behalf of those of us that didn't even know she was making them. But yeah, it's just the book was really good. I think I read it, and most of the time when I do memoirs, I don't read them as fast as I do just fiction books, because you know there's some savoring that needs to be done. There are words, there are things that you want to kind of let marinate and then come back and pick it up. And like I said, you know, I found myself falling into the abyss of YouTube, looking at old videos of Miles Davis, hearing some stuff in his words, and you know, looking at other different things, you know, based on stuff that she had mentioned in her memoir. But it was all just so powerful and inspiring, so inspiring. I mean, you know, there's a saying that I've heard where it says that, you know, you can look to other people's lives for the lesson, you know, so that you don't have to go through the same thing that they went through. And if people are looking for that type of inspiration, even though she was a much older woman, a lot of the things that she endured, a lot of the things that she came in contact with, a lot of people, I mean, it's timeless. It's timely and timeless, her story. So I would definitely recommend this one for, you know, anyone who is looking for inspiration, whether you're a fan of hers or not. But how could you not be? But and the other thing is so funny. Oh, I could just imagine, like, especially as she got older. You know how, like, older women, like, think about your grandmother or somebody, you know, how they don't have time for pretense. They're going to tell it to you straight. They're going to tell you what they think, what they believe, how they feel. Your feelings be damned, you know, because they're just keeping it real. And this woman, some of the stuff like that she says in here, and how she just, you know, was like, she said that there was even a comment where she made that she had a reputation of being difficult. And she says because she wasn't going to allow anybody to disrespect her. So there's that. So she said that was something that she wear like a badge of honor, because, you know, you're not just going to treat her any kind of way. You're just not going to say anything to her, you know, without her having something to say back. And I think a lot of times people, they do that. They want to make their little snide comments, or they want to be rude to you or treat you less than the way you deserve. But the minute you stand up for yourself, then you're difficult. And as black women especially, we get that all the time. So yeah, I was really touched by her story. And one of the things, I'm going to read this thing. I have so many things that I underlined, but this really gave me goosebumps, because just like she was at the end of her life, as you come kind of to the end of the book, and she has this thing in her where she says, a lesson before dying. And it says, we don't have long here, children. Our hopes and aspirations may feel limitless, but our days are finite. Our experiences fading in the twinkling of an eye. Death is a love note to the living, to regard every day, every breath as sacred. And then it goes on, and she talks about that our purpose in its entirety is to cherish one another. That is all, to bestow God's care onto others. And she had mentioned that kind of in the context of after Miles Davis died, but it's still a lesson, I think, that we all can take from it. I mean, can you imagine, like, all the things that she has done in her life? And I'm sure that she never expected that she was either going to live that long. I mean, she outlived everybody in her, you know, immediate family, like her mom and siblings. And then to have the life that she did, and she just kept trudging along. Like, a lot of the things, it seems, was serendipitous that happened to her, wasn't really planned. So yeah, you have got to just live your life every day and just go for it and don't take anything for granted. The last thing that I will say is, and while I totally get it, and it could just be the me, the nosy person in me, trying to figure out stuff that's none of my business in the first place, but I've always admired Cicely Tyson's work, and I'm very familiar with her. I was born in 1970, so I know a lot of her work and saw a lot of her movies and different things when they initially debuted. And I never, ever knew that she had a daughter. It is just amazing, astounding, unbelievable that she has been able to keep her daughter's keep her, not necessarily a secret, because I'm sure everybody that matters to her or mattered to her knows who her daughter is. It's not like she was hiding her, but to keep her out of the public eye. And she had her when she was like 17 or 18 years old. So if she died when she was 96, her daughter and her daughter's still alive. She has to be in her 70s or late 70s. And I mean, try as you might, because I did, you're not going to find a single picture of her daughter anywhere on the interwebs. And even in the book, she didn't use her real name. She called her Joan. And at the end, I think because she sent her off to a boarding school, and at the time that her daughter, like during her formative years, was kind of like at the height of Cicely Tyson's career. So I think that they spent a lot of time apart, and the way that it sounded, there was some mother-daughter tensions there, and some anger on her daughter's end and those type of things. So I just imagine she just was totally protecting her, as mothers do, and wanting to respect her privacy. And like at the end, she has this picture like from when her daughter was a baby, and it says, to the one who has paid the greatest price for this gift to all, meaning her gift, the gift of being Cicely Tyson, and then she's dedicating the book to her. Yeah, so that was the only thing. I was like, she got a kid? Because I could have sworn, and now I'm gonna have to go see if I can't find this in the archives. I could have sworn that I read an interview with her in Essence magazine many years ago, where they asked her about having regrets, and I could have sworn she said that her only regret was not having children. Maybe she said more children. I don't know, but anyway, I just thought that was the whole time I was just like trying to reconcile that in my head, like it's my business. But anyway, just as I am, Cicely Tyson, some funny stories, some serious stories, just her life, in general, is just a testimony. And I think anyone who reads the story, you will walk away inspired. Really, really hope that they make her make a movie about her life. Oh my goodness, that will be incredible. There's already been talk that if such a movie were to happen, that Kimberly Elise would be a great actress to play Cicely Tyson. But I don't know about like her earlier years. But hey, she was lying about her age anyway. It's always 10 years older than what she actually was. So hey, Kimberly could probably, pull it off for the whole movie. I mean, because she has a very youthful look anyway, even though she's in her 40s. And Miles Davis, the only apparent person, and it's only because when I was on my Googling spree, I saw the movie that he had done of Miles Davis, and that's Don Cheadle. But that would be an incredible movie, because she name drops a lot of Hollywood, Black Hollywood celebrities at in the beginnings of their career, some of them at the height and some of them at the end of their careers. So finding other actors to play those icons when they were younger would be pretty cool. Yeah, so that would be my dream cast. Thanks for watching. Make sure that you like this video, comment if you have something you want to say, and subscribe to my channel.